There we go. Let's come down a bit here, Lynn.
I'm a bit short, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Just come that way a bit. Okay, and we're good. So it's about 1 o'clock on the afternoon of Thursday, the 28th of March, 2019. And as you can see, I'm outside the Royal Courts of Justice with LYN THYER. And this was supposed to be the final hearing in Lynn's appeal against her extradition. And this, of course, is an attempt by the French equivalent, the MHRA, to extradite Lynn to France to face charges for her alleged role in the manufacture and distribution of GC meth. So, Lynn, the good news is that you're outside the court and you will be sleeping in your own bed tonight.
Yeah, I'm not in handcuffs going to France, so
Exactly.
that's a bonus. That's
it's
a bonus.
A real bonus. yeah. But obviously you came along this morning hoping that you were going to get a definitive decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone on now for months and months, years now. The European arrest warrant's only valid for 60 days. I'm over 700. They're just dragging it on, and they're just bringing up technical faults, which should have been ironed out before this started. The CPR, again, brought up charges again. CPS, sorry. Well, I'm not saying what we called him last time.
4 letters, but it began with C.
Yeah. But anyway, they keep on bringing up extra charges, and it's holding it back. And what they don't realise is the stress they're putting under. You know, it's not just me, it's my family. My mum and dad. My mum was crying last night because I had to go to London and she didn't know whether I was coming back. This isn't fair. And this isn't fair on any homeopath, integrative therapist, anybody that cares about the environment. It's not fair to do this to us. And I don't want to be made an example, but I am. I am being made a big example because I worked with David Noakes. He's in prison, seriously ill, and they won't even help to get him out to hospital. What can we do? We can't be treated like this. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, what we witnessed today was really an example of the socio-psychopathy of the legal profession, because the barrister representing the French judiciary, basically, as I stated when we came out of court last time, he was literally making it up as he went along, and I think the judge was astute enough to recognise that. And then he blagged. Initially, he asked for 24 hours to produce equivalent charges as they might appear if you were being charged in the UK. That then somehow morphed into 14 days.
Yeah.
And today, it turned out that he'd actually introduced a whole bunch of new evidence.
Yeah.
And so much of the discussion this morning was over whether or not this new evidence should be admitted. And in fact, the judge couldn't actually recall verbatim what he'd said about the introduction of further evidence. But we all remember, and your barrister was absolutely correct, in my opinion, in his recall, which was that the other barrister was given, at his own request, initially 24 hours, to simply produce the equivalent charges that could have been levelled against you if this was the British authorities. Yeah,
they've got all the documentation because it's been going between both sides. Why suddenly does he decide he needed all that time when you go on your computer, you get your document, look through it, and it's there? Even I can do it. They're sending me documents, and I can do it, so why can't he?
Well, I mean, I think I said after the last hearing that if the judge ruled against you and granted your extradition to France, it would be a travesty based on what we had seen unfold in court then. Today, literally what we saw was the other barrister, in my opinion, realised that he was on the back foot.
Yeah.
And so literally trying to regain the advantage by claiming that the reason he'd introduced new evidence was because the judge didn't actually specifically state that no new evidence would be admitted. But what was acknowledged after a short recess, what was acknowledged was that the judge had said categorically that he wouldn't permit a recess solely for the purpose of new evidence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what the other barrister did was he effectively contrived to create the opportunity for a recess, supposedly to come up with these British equivalent charges,
Yeah.
but then he's used that or abused it to introduce new evidence.
Yes, it's just going on and on and on. I can't think much about it because I'm just a bit too emotionally traumatised by this. You know, you can't do this to people. You can't play with their lives. It's been going on too long, and sorry, Ian, I can't do it anymore. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, obviously, it's extremely traumatic. I mean, for those of you who are just tuning into this for the first time, I mean, LYN has effectively been having to deal with this for over 4 years now. It's over 4 years.
And I've been told today that my chances of getting off are 50-50. You know, so why am my team not working for 100%? It was been 100% up until today. So what's gone wrong?
Well, I'm going to refrain from making any comment about your legal team. That wouldn't be appropriate.
No, but it's just very traumatic. Yeah. You know, we've got enough to deal with. I've got a partner I'm worried about. I've got a mum and dad I'm looking after, and I'm being extradited to France. And the judge in France, you've only got to look him up. He has got a good history of pre-trial detention. Few days, he's talking about 5 months.
Well, I think they've already acknowledged in the court that that it is sadly very likely, if you are extradited, it will be to remand, because you would be perceived as a flight risk.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the upside of this is that Judge Supperstone certainly gives me the impression that he's astute.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was lost on him at the last hearing that the barrister was making it up as he went along. And I don't think it's lost on him that the barrister today was exercising an extreme in judicial agility to try to overturn effectively his poor performance at the last hearing.
Yeah.
Now, what does concern me, obviously, is that, when a judge says I'm going to issue a written ruling, I mean, one, obviously it can be because he genuinely wants to review the complexity of the evidence that's been presented. But the other reason, obviously, is because he doesn't want to announce the ruling in court because of the reaction that it might get from the public gallery.
Yeah.
So, the onus is very much on Judge Supperstone here, of course, to make the right decision. But, I mean, from my perspective, then if he grants an extradition, it will be an absolute travesty, and I would suggest that there are unseen pressures being brought to bear upon him to effect that decision.
And wonder who they are.
And I wonder who exactly. So
who are the plaintiffs? I'm not going to say it here because I'm going to have to be quiet, but we know who they are. They do it to a lot of people, and I'm not the first.
Targeted a number of alternative practitioners, and in particular homeopaths. Now, we're trying to get some corroboration of this, but this is how the MHRA operates. They are big farmers' henchmen. They are bully boys, and they are there for the sole purpose of protecting the outrageous revenue streams of the pharmaceutical industry. And although they will claim that they're there to protect against snake oil salesmen, at the end of the day, people are more than capable of deciding for themselves what it is that what protocols that they're going to use for any sort of medication or treatments that they need.
But I worry about them because when I was arrested and taken to Canterbury police station to be interviewed, the two gentlemen there had no clinical training. They were policemen.
Yeah.
So
the MHRA are bully boys. I mean, there's nothing. There's no pretense that really that they just are there beyond the role of shutting down innovative healthcare.
These poor guys were. There was 8 of them, I think. I'm going to try and check it online tonight. But they had a cease and desist and had all their possessions seized. I'm thinking, well, that sounds really familiar. How many times has that happened?
Okay, but we don't know that to be fact at the moment.
No, but I'm going to try to find.
If anybody else has got any information on this, then, please share it with us, because We literally heard this morning, but I say it is uncorroborated right now. But it wouldn't surprise us one iota, because this is the modus operandi. So
I think that
Lynn, sorry.
I'm just going to have to just quit because I can't. I've got to quit, and I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So sorry.
That's okay. We'll take these from you. I think people understand the magnitude of the stress that you're being put under, Lynn.
I would never share this with anybody. This is just too much. It's too much for one person. It's too much.
And I mean, let's make it clear. I mean, Lynn isn't at liberty. She's has to report to the police every week. She's very restricted in where she can travel. So, this is how the duress is put on those who literally are trying to do their best for the community, but are being shut down by the corporatocracy. So it's lunchtime here. We're going to grab a bite to eat, and Lynn obviously going to recover her composure. And then I should be heading back to Newcastle and finding out how stream with Mark later on this evening, somewhere probably around about 6:30, 7 o'clock. But meanwhile, obviously, I know that Lynn is in the hearts of probably everybody watching this, except, of course, the MHRA, and who are possibly watching this. But if anyone from the MHRA is watching this, then I will simply make the observation that karma is a real bitch. On that note, I'll see you in Newcastle in a few hours. Take care now.